Chapter 23 of The Professor. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Martin Geeson. The Professor by Charlotte Bronte. Chapter 23. It was 2:00 when I returned to my lodgings. My dinner, just brought in from a neighbouring hotel, smoked on the table. I sat down, thinking to eat. Had the plate been heaped with potsherds and broken glass, instead of boiled beef and haricots, I could not have made a more signal failure. Appetite had forsaken me. Impatient of seeing food which I could not taste, I put it all aside into a cupboard, and then demanded, what shall I do till evening? For before 6 p.m. it would be vain to seek the Rue Notre Dame aux Neiges. Its inhabitant, for me it had but one, was detained by her vocation elsewhere. I walked in the streets of Brussels, and I walked in my own room from 2:00 till 6. Never once in that space of time did I sit down. I was in my chamber when the last named hour struck. I had just bathed my face and feverish hands, and was standing near the glass. My cheek was crimson, my eye was flame. Still all my features looked quite settled and calm. Descending swiftly the stair and stepping out, I was glad to see twilight drawing on in clouds. Such shade was to me like a grateful screen, and the chill of latter autumn, breathing in a fitful wind from the northwest, met me as a refreshing coolness. Still I saw it was cold to others, for the women I passed were wrapped in shawls, and the men had their coats buttoned close. When are we quite happy? Was I so then? No, an urgent and growing dread worried my nerves, and had worried them since the first moment good tidings had reached me. How was Frances? It was 10 weeks since I had seen her, 6 since I had heard from her, or of her. I had answered her letter by a brief note, friendly but calm, in which no mention of continued correspondence or further visits was made. At that hour my bark hung on the topmost curl of a wave of fate, and I knew not on what shoal the onward rush of the billow might hurl it. I would not then attach her destiny to mine by the slightest thread. If doomed to split on the rock, or run aground on the sandbank, I was resolved no other vessel should share my disaster. But 6 weeks was a long time, and could it be that she was still well and doing well? Were not all sages agreed in declaring that happiness finds no climax on earth? Dared I think that but half a street now divided me from the full cup of contentment, the draught drawn from waters said to flow only in heaven? I was at the door. I entered the quiet house. I mounted the stairs. The lobby was void and still, all the doors closed. I looked for the neat green mat. It lay duly in its place. Signal of hope, I said, and advanced. But I will be a little calmer. I am not going to rush in and get up a scene directly. Forcibly staying my eager step, I paused on the mat. What an absolute hush! Is she in? Is anybody in? I demanded to myself. A little tinkle, as of cinders falling from a grate, replied. A movement, a fire was gently stirred, and the slight rustle of life continuing, a step paced equably backwards and forwards in the apartment. Fascinated, I stood, more fixedly fascinated when a voice rewarded the attention of my strained ear. So low, so self-addressed, I never fancied the speaker otherwise than alone. Solitude might speak thus in a desert, or in the hall of a forsaken house. And ne'er but once, my son, he said, was yon dark cavern trod, in persecution's iron days, when the land was left by God. From Bewley's bog, with slaughter red, a wanderer hither drew, and oft he stopped and turned his head, as by fits the night winds blew. For trampling round by Cheviot edge, we heard the troopers keen, and frequent from the Whitelaw ridge the death shot flashed between, etc., etc. The old Scotch ballad was partly recited, then dropped. A pause ensued, then another strain followed, in French, of which the purport, translated, ran as follows: I gave at first attention close, then interest warm ensued. From interest, as improvement rose, succeeded gratitude. Obedience was no effort soon, and labour was no pain. If tired, a word, a glance alone would give me strength again. From others of the studious band ere long he singled me, but only by more close demand and sterner urgency. The task he from another took, from me he did reject. He would no slight omission brook, and suffer no defect. If my companions went astray, he scarce their wanderings blamed. If I but faltered in the way, his anger fiercely flamed. Something stirred in an adjoining chamber. It would not do to be surprised eavesdropping. I tapped hastily, and as hastily entered. Frances was just before me. She had been walking slowly in her room, and her step was checked by my advent. Twilight only was with her, and tranquil, ruddy firelight. To these sisters, the bright and the dark, she had been speaking, ere I entered, in poetry. Sir Walter Scott's voice, to her a foreign, far-off sound, a mountain echo, had uttered itself in the first stanzas. The second, I thought, from the style and the substance, was the language of her own heart. Her face was grave, its expression concentrated. She bent on me an unsmiling eye, an eye just returning from abstraction, just awaking from dreams. Well arranged was her simple attire, smooth her dark hair, orderly her tranquil room. But what, with her thoughtful look, her serious self-reliance, her bent to meditation and haply inspiration, what had she to do with love? Nothing, was the answer of her own sad though gentle countenance. It seemed to say, I must cultivate fortitude and cling to poetry. One is to be my support, and the other my solace through life. Human affections do not bloom, nor do human passions glow for me. Other women have such thoughts. Frances, had she been as desolate as she deemed, would not have been worse off than thousands of her sex. Look at the rigid and formal race of old maids, the race whom all despise. They have fed themselves, from youth upwards, on maxims of resignation and endurance. Many of them get ossified with the dry diet. Self-control is so continually their thought, so perpetually their object, that at last it absorbs the softer and more agreeable qualities of their nature, and they die mere models of austerity, fashioned out of a little parchment and much bone. Anatomists will tell you that there is a heart in the withered old maid's carcass, the same as in that of any cherished wife or proud mother in the land. Can this be so? I really don't know, but feel inclined to doubt it. I came forward, bade Frances good evening, and took my seat. The chair I had chosen was one she had probably just left. It stood by a little table where were her open desk and papers. I know not whether she had fully recognized me at first, but she did so now, and in a voice soft but quiet, she returned my greeting. I had shown no eagerness. She took her cue from me, and evinced no surprise. We met as we had always met, as master and pupil, nothing more. I proceeded